Hey, football fans, welcome back to another episode of Lions Latest, the show where we gather around and talk about the greatest team in the NFL, the Detroit Lions. I'm your host, Bryan Hanes. We have some good stuff to talk about ahead of this week's matchup versus the Bengals to get into, so let's jump straight into this video. Starting off, we are talking about David Montgomery and what kind of game we are looking to have him have this Sunday. I think he's going to bounce back. I think he's going to show us what we saw against the Ravens. This last week against the Browns, he was really reserved on carries, especially because the running game just wasn't really getting through that well. So I think this is going to be the game we really see him go crazy, especially with alongside Jahmyr Gibbs. I think they'll both have a good game, but this is especially important for Monty because of the game he just had. The veteran running back will also be returning home. The 28-year-old was born in Cincinnati and played high school ball at Mount Healthy, Ohio, a 20-minute drive from Paycor Stadium. He recently appeared on the Up and Adams show to discuss the personal importance of this game. Sunday does mark the first game back in Cincinnati since Montgomery actually left high school, which is kind of a crazy fact. Montgomery revealed that it would be cool playing against the team that, quote, when I grew up, that was the team that was like my team. I was the hometown kid, end quote. Against Cincinnati's fellow AFC North rival, the Ravens, we did see Montgomery dice him up for 151 yards and 2 tutties. We just talked about that. Absolutely crazy game for him and a career high in yards. His longest rush, a 72-yard scramble from our own end zone, which was super clutch. Currently sits at the longest rush during the early stages of this season, so why not break it again? Why not break your own record, go out and beat the Bengals, right? But he is coming off of a slower game and will want to bounce back, especially against a weaker defense, right? The Browns' big strength and their big identity is that defense, is stopping the running game at the line. So now that we're going against the Bengals, who've had their struggles with injuries and defense personnel, it's going to be a big game for him. Last week against the Browns, he only recorded 9 rushing attempts for 12 yards. And after his game in Baltimore, he's going to absolutely want to get that lick back and get back to where he was in week 3. His physical downhill running style consistently wears down opponents, making him particularly effective when facing less stout lines of 7. Basically, that just means he does better against weaker opponents. And it's not like, well, of course, everyone's going to do better against a weaker opponent. He thrives at it. The way he runs, the way he's relentless in his running, he just wears down defensive lines and linebackers till lanes are just opened up for free and he can get those big rushes later in games like we saw against the Ravens. It's also going to allow stuff for Gibbs, who is the speedier one, to get some crazy runs going if he can wear them down, especially on that goal line. I think that's what we're going to see from David Montgomery. That's what I expect to see from David Montgomery. He's not just a backup guy. We have 2 very, very good running backs on our team that consistently produce for us. Against the Ravens, it was Montgomery. Gibbs gets his fair share of carries as well. But I think this game, it's going to be a good mix for both of them. We're just going to see Montgomery get back to the stats we're used to. Let me know what you guys think, though. Am I wrong about this? Is he going to get stuffed up again? Or are we just going to let Gibbs take the 90% of the snaps and we won't even get to see Montgomery for majority of this game? Let me know what you guys think. It's going to take us to our second topic with how flags have really impacted the games for the Lions. Detroit's Lions fans will recognize the name Carl Sheffers in an instant. If you're one of the few who don't hold on to a decade-old scar, Sheffers was the lead referee during Detroit's controversial loss to Green Bay in 2015. Aaron Rodgers completed a Hail Mary at the end of the game after Sheffers' crew awarded the Packers an untimed down following a face mask penalty that replay showed never actually happened. So that was like, what used to happen to the Lions a lot. The nonsense calls, stuff like that. Sheffers' crew will officiate the Lions' Week 5 game against the Bengals, which is kind of like okay, here we go again scenario. If it wasn't bad enough, Sheffers' officiating crew has also been extremely flag happy, this crew, which isn't good for our defense, who likes to do that, pull a lot of flags. In 3 games, they are averaging 18.6 flags a game, which is far more than any officiating crew this year. So it's like, oh God, do I think it's necessarily going to kill our chances against the Bengals? No. Have we been bad with flags? Well, let's talk about it. The 2024 season, the Lions ranked 32nd in the NFL for the most defensive holding penalties and most defensive pass interference penalties. This was especially pronounced in the defensive pass interference category, which we had a few of Thank you, Terry on Arnold. Where we had 19 calls against them compared to just one on the opposing team's defense. The offense, however, ranked among the best in the league for drawing penalties. So here's the kind of other side of things, right? They were tied for the second most offensive holding penalties against opponents at 29, and were tied for the most offensive pass interference calls against opponents at 7. Overall, the Lions averaged 6.22 penalties and 56.56 yards per game, ranking in the middle of the league, so not too crazy. What's good for us here is that if we're the best at calling or drawing penalties, with an officiating crew that's been flag happy, I see that being more in our favor. Now, does this guy Sheffers, does he have some grudge against the Lions that he's holding on to? Absolutely not. I don't think anyone is doing that at that level of profession. Um, and he's going to go out there and call the game like he would any other game. Now, are the calls going to be great? I don't know. Probably not. That's just kind of how it is, though, right? I don't, just because they're not great, though, doesn't mean he's targeting us. And if it's going to go one way, it has to go the other way. That's the only way I'm happy. If you're going to call out of flags, just make sure it's going both ways. We're going to just have to wait and see to what he does there, because who knows? All referee crews are the same. Let's just hope we don't get a repeat of Dallas with the not reporting eligible. That one was especially bad, and I will not let go of that one. That is a scar I will hold on to, and I'm sure a lot of Lions fans will agree with me on that one. So, with that being said, let me know what you guys think about the flags. Obviously, it's just a part of the game, and it's not a whole lot you can do to change it. You just got to do better at being disciplined and sticking to your role, not doing anything extraordinary, and not putting yourself in a position where you make it easy for the ref to call you on something. Let me know what you guys think. It's going to take us to our third topic of the day. We're talking about another injury, but it's followed by some good news. So yesterday we talked about the injuries that were going on and Lee McNeil possibly returning sooner than we thought. Here's the kind of the update on that. Prior to practice, head coach Dan Campbell announced defensive lineman Lee McNeil would officially be returning to practice, and his 21-day practice window has been started. Like we hoped he would be. He's back and going and getting the ball rolling sooner than later. Quote, "So we're starting Max Block today. He's a little nervous, so he's ready to go," Dan Campbell said. "Like I said, I'm sorry for those guys who have to line up across from him. He's ready to go," end quote. I think that gives me a lot of hope, right? There was a lot of talk about Ian Hutchinson and the talks about how he was ready to go. People were like, no, that's phony. He took that injury. There's no way. But if Dan Campbell's saying it and then we see how Hutch performs, I can only imagine how Lee McNeil's going to be ready to go with that motor just ready to go back when he plays. The 25-year-old still remains on the physically unable to perform list. It does not officially count on the team's active roster so far. He can be eligible to play, but he must first be activated off the PUP list and be placed on the 53-man roster officially. After a period of 21 days, if he is not activated, then he must sit out for the remainder of the season. So we got a few weeks now to get him back into the lineup, getting back into the rotation, and hopefully he doesn't sit out the rest of the season, because if he does, I'm going to be very disappointed, and it's going to be a very anticlimactic thing that we've all been kind of waiting for him to get back, right? Another update on somebody is Terrion Arnold, who did hurt his shoulder against the Browns, was spotted at practice and participated during individual drills. Not as bad as we thought, and hopefully he will be back for this game Sunday. It will help our cornerback troubles immensely. Those not spotted at the team's Allen Park Performance Center included guys like Sion Vaki, who's still been out, linebacker Zach Cunningham still dealing with an injury, cornerbacks DJ Reed wasn't there, and Khalil Dorsey, and then left tackle Taylor Decker was not seen, which is like, oh no. I get it's the Bengals. I get there's not anything we should worry about, right? But it's like having your guys out. There's these crazy upset games every year. You just don't want your team to be one of them. I just hope that our guys are ready to go healthy. Taylor Decker, every week it seems like he's on this list, but he ends up playing anyway, so hopefully that's still the case. And the big name that was not there was Kirby Joseph. What? What do you mean? So we saw him get injured against the Browns. Then he came back. So I thought he was good. He probably just played through some pain, and he's probably going to be dealing with an injury. We don't know what it is yet, though. Joseph being out makes our secondary problems a lot worse than what they already were. What was already a problem, missing DJ Reed as one of those big coverage guys, is now much worse with the ball-hawking free safety Kirby Joseph gone. If he is gone from practice, that could possibly mean he's going to not play in Sunday's game, and that could add to the worries about the game with the Bengals and their passing game. But there's still no guarantee that Jake Browning even performs in the first place, so I'm not going to get ahead of myself there. Avonte Maddox would be filling in for him, and he looked fine against the Browns in the few snaps we saw him play when Kirby Joseph sat out for a little bit. But we obviously want our starters back as soon as possible. I hope Kirby Joseph's back. I'm not too worried about Avonte Maddox. I think he'll end up doing fine anyways. He is a proven guy who has done starting reps. I just think we're going to have to hope and see what Kirby Joseph's status is at the end of the week. And good to hear McNeil's getting rolling, right? That was the big thing. We knew he was going to be back sooner than later after a certain point, but it was really the question of when. When are we getting this whole process started? And the fact that they did get it done the same week as announcing it makes me very happy for the kind of return he'll have. Plus, if he gets back in the window, and he is back maybe even sooner, we'll have him for more than half the season, which will benefit us immensely having a guy like Ali McNeil. I think once he's back too, we're going to see the pass rush just explode a lot more. There's all this talk about needing another guy on this side of the edge rushing core, but I think Al-Qadim Muhammad's been fine, and if we get Ali McNeil back, it'll kind of help ease the pressure that Hutch has had to put up with. That's just my opinion on that, though. Let me know if you guys agree, disagree with me. And finally, we are just going to be talking about some comments, starting with Ross Dye. Ross Dye says, I still think we need another pass rusher opposite of Hutchinson. I really want to see him where he isn't getting chipped or have 2 to 3 guys on him. Right now, or even last season, he was only getting numbers when he went up against second or third string tackles. Yeah, no, that's a good point. And kind of contrary to my point I just had about Al-Qadim Muhammad, obviously, every team is going to throw 2 to 3 guys on him. What lies there is that, or what really matters there is if he can still create pressure with that. That's what makes him one of these highest paid guys. Like on that same tier, Max Crosby, Myles Garrett is able to still get past double teams because that's what puts them on that caliber. Obviously, he's still getting pressures. We've seen the pressure rate he's done even with being double teamed. But yeah, sure, he's going to record more stats against backup guys. I mean, I guess that's just fair, right? I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. Again, I think we wait to see what Ali McNeil really adds to the pass rush, and then if it's still not enough, we start to look at our options. Nonetheless, still appreciate your comment, Rostai. Thank you so much for your input. And finally, Superman24 says, JMO is more than just a pass catcher. He's a great decoy and fantastic blocker. But he may be one of the best blocking wide receivers in the league. But yes, he needs to start reeling in those passes and limit the drops. He will get it together. Yeah, I'm not necessarily worried. The whole stuff about, JMO's got the drops. He's one of the big worries from him going into college, into the league. I think the few drops we did see is just that'll be his bad game. And everyone, sure, the rule of everyone gets one, we can say applies here. I don't think it's going to be too much of a worry. And you're absolutely right, Superman. His pass block or his run blocking ability when he is out making blocks is fantastic, especially for his size. He just throws his whole body at guys, and he's not afraid to do it. Definitely helps our running game a lot, and you can go back and watch tape. Some of these touchdown runs don't happen without Jamison Williams being far into the secondary, making blocks on safeties. So yeah, I think he'll be all right. My only big thing here in concern is that, he's more than a pass blocker, obviously, but now that we have him on contract, we are expecting everything from him, right? We locked him up for a reason. I think he will get it together, but I hopefully just see it sooner than later. That's my only thing on that. With that being said, we are out of time today. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Lions Latest. If you made it to this point in the video, tell me what you guys think about David Montgomery and what kind of game you think he's going to have. And also tell me how you think the injuries have been affecting us and when you're expecting to see Lee McNeil back in the rotation. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, smash the bell so you never miss a single video here. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video.